The gift of Christ is the highest and fullest manifestation of the love of God to sinners ever made from eternity. His giving Christ implies a parting with him, or setting him, as the French version hath it, at some distance from himself for a time. There was a kind of parting between the Father and the Son when he came to tabernacle in our flesh. God's giving of Christ implies his delivering him into the hands of justice, even as condemned persons are, by sentence of law, given or delivered into the hands of executioners. This gift of Christ was the highest and fullest manifestation of the love of God that ever the world saw. Consider how near and dear Jesus Christ was to the Father. He was his Son, his only Son, the Son of his love, yea, one with himself, the express image of his person, the brightness of his Father's glory. A late writer tells us that in the famine in Germany, a poor family being ready to perish, the husband proposed to the wife to sell one of the children for bread to relieve themselves and the rest. The wife at last consented it should be so, but then they began to think which of the 4 should be sold. And when the eldest was named, they both refused to part with that, being their firstborn, and the beginning of their strength. Well, then they came to the second, but could not yield that he should be sold, being the very picture and lively image of his father. The third was named, but that also was a child that best resembled the mother. And when the youngest was thought of, that was the Benjamin, the child of their old age, and so they determined rather to perish in the famine than part with a child for relief. And you know how Jacob mourned when his Joseph and Benjamin were rent from him. What is a child but a piece of the parent wrapped up in another skin? And yet our dearest children are but as strangers to us in comparison to the unspeakable dearness betwixt the Father and Christ. Now that he should ever thus part with his Son, his only Son, is such a manifestation of love as will be admired to all eternity. Let it be considered to what he gave him, even to death, and that of the cross, to be made a curse for us, to be the scorn and contempt of men, to the most unparalleled sufferings that ever were inflicted or borne by any. It breaks our heart to behold our children struggling in the pangs of death. But the Lord beheld his Son struggling under agonies that never any felt before him, amidst those agonies turning himself to his Father, and with a heart-rending cry beseeching him, Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass. Luke 22:42. To wrath, to the wrath of an infinite God was Christ delivered, and that by the hand of his own Father. Sure, then, that love must needs want a name, which made the Father of mercies deliver his only Son to such miseries for us. It is a special consideration to enhance the love of God in giving Christ, that in giving him he gave the richest jewel in his cabinet, a mercy of the greatest worth and most inestimable value. Heaven itself is not so valuable and precious as Christ is. Now, for God to bestow the mercy of mercies, the most precious thing in heaven or earth, upon poor sinners, and as great, as lovely, as excellent as his Son was, yet not to account him too good to bestow upon us, what manner of love is this? Once more let it be considered on whom the Lord bestowed his Son. Upon angels? No, but upon men. Upon men his friends? No, but upon his enemies. This is love, and on this consideration the apostle lays a mighty weight. Who would part with a son for the sake of his dearest friends? But God gave him to and delivered him for enemies. O love unspeakable! Let us consider how freely this gift came from him. It was not wrestled out of his hand by our importunity, for we as little desired as deserved it. It was surprising, self-moved, eternal love that delivered him to us. What matchless love is manifest in that incomparable gift!